This is a Catcherman from Spyderco. One of the sort of rare folding fillet knives. It's an MBS 26, which is very similar to CDS BD1 from Carpenter and 19C27 from Sandvik. It's basically a little bit more heavier carbide than the AEBL 12C27, but not all the way up towards the VG10 ATS34 S30V class steels. And I think you could make an argument for that being a better steel for this type of application, because in general most people, or a lot of people at least, prefer a slightly more coarse finish on fillet knives than an extremely high polish. So as you increase the coarseness of the edge, you move into a situation where a bit higher carbide volume has more benefits, because it provides higher abrasion resistance and it'll keep that coarse slicing a bit longer. The only negative thing really about this blade that I've found, and I've had it for quite some time, is that in sort of really hard and fast fillet work, there's a bit of a concern about forward ramping because there isn't a prominent guard, and it's one of the rare occasions where I could say that a little bit of the super ultra mega tactical jimping, such as found on the ZT line, would be of benefit, because normally you don't hold fillet knives all the way up like that. You're working slightly a bit further back, so when you slip ahead you'd catch on the jimping and stop, and of course that would remove the need for a guard. In regards to the serrations, you can take them or leave them. A lot of it depends on who's doing the filleting and exactly what you're doing. For people who do deheading and splitting, they tend to really like the serrations because it allows those powerful cuts without needing to have a much larger knife to sort of chop through. Now, this week's challenge is relatively simple. Someone drops off this knife, Spyderco Catcherman again, and they've put a very high polish on the edge. They've gone all the way up to an 8000 grit stone. Then they've stropped it on 0.5 micron chromium oxide. That's what the bag was labeled anyway. And then they stropped it on newsprint, and then they stropped it on leather. However, the edge felt rough. It easily sliced newsprint, but would snag on a push cut. And by a push cut, I mean a 90-degree angle to the paper, not the blade angle either way, and not any movement. All of those constitute a slice. So again, the procedure is straightforward. You have to figure out how come with that high of a polish the edge is snagging, and you can again ask questions, as in what would happen if you did this. You can ask more questions about what your friend did, how exactly he sharpened. You can have sort of a conversation. The only hint that I will tell you is that this is an extremely common problem that people have when they're sharpening knives, and it's again one of the things that you have in your toolkit that once you know and understand for it, you can develop a test which shows if this is the problem quite quickly. And you do not need high magnification, and you do not need a Sharpie marker or any of these other crutches that people tend to rely on. A little bit of understanding of what sharpening actually is, what happens at the edge, and a little bit of knowledge of physics goes quite a long way. And again, this is a folding fillet knife from Spyderco, the Catcherman and MBS 26. And again, the only real weakness is that it lacks sort of a very prominent forward guard, so there is a bit of a danger if you do sort of hard and fast rough filleting. And the other issue it has that integral clip, which can be a bit of an issue, because if it breaks you'll end up having to tap a set of holes to put in another clip, because of course you obviously can't replace that without replacing the handle.